Greetings everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, My Hero Academia, the final season.
Yeah, My Hero Academia, final season, episode 4. Yeah, it's already episode 4. People, I don't know who keeps deleting time, and now it's brought rain to me, and now I'm in hell again, so it's fantastic. But hopefully everybody else is doing well out there. We're back from our Anime Night in the Dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age, and that's Bakugo, and he's exploding everywhere. Some of you might have seen it, but it recently came out that the English VA for Bakugo almost passed out recording the previous episode. So he went all out, apparently. Well, when you have to be Bakugo, yeah, I could see it. You know what I mean?
Plus Ultra in the booth.
Pretty much. I could definitely see it. So that's one hell of a thing. He'll probably have some more like big time, emotive lines in this episode as well. I'm sure, because the fight is still going on, and I'm sure it's only going to get more ridiculous as All for One slowly, becomes younger and younger. Which I kind of wonder where it's going to stop. Is he just going to out of existence? That's something we talked about. I'm really curious to see where they put it. You know what I mean? Is he just gonna become like a baby and Bakugo's just gonna blast him, or what? Is that too cruel?
From what we know with Aries' power, yeah, it just freaking what she did to her dad was that he freaking rewound till he was an infant, and then until he was just nothing.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. So I really don't have any theories on that because he's going backwards. So, I mean, just full on fades out of existence, I guess. Just poof. And then it'll just be classic. But, yeah.
Customer service.
Yeah. So, either way, I'm sure this is going to be kind of a big deal. Obviously, probably the jewel in the crown of the Bakugo episodes. So looking forward to that. But yeah, not really a huge amount more to say going on this one after everything that we talked about last time. So we're just gonna push some buttons and get going here. I'm actually going to push the button that turns off our background track this time because I'm looking right at it. I keep forgetting to do it. But anyway, people on Patreon, we'll see you on the other side of the edit for the timer stuff, and people on YouTube, we'll see you on the other side for the discussion and review. So here goes something. Well, alrighty then. There you guys have it. Mentioned at the end of the reaction there that, hey, I threw that... was he the glowing baby? Well, no, he was not. The glowing baby was their own person until he went and stole their quirk and killed them because they had 10 million followers, and that was unacceptable.
Yeah, you commented about him potentially being the freaking golden baby, which I didn't think he would have been. But yeah, I was talking about the fact that he probably stole the quirk. But yeah, freaking in a lot of ways, the glowing baby was in direct opposition to him, so him taking them out kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So either way, we got the pretty much everything for the most part filled in for All for One's backstory, all the way back to his mom and stuff. So yeah, that was pretty much everything that we needed to see. I will say that I'm glad they kept the continuity correct when they were going through all the previous wielders of One for All. The Danger Sense guy was not there because he recused himself as a hermit in the mountains before he met the smokescreen guy. So All for One did not kill him. So I'm glad that was properly there, because I was just okay, they are doing this in order, and they skipped the guy they needed to skip. So good.
Yeah, no, his whole thing was that he went and lived a hermit life and ended up dying because apparently freaking One for All was getting too powerful, and it's what killed him.
Yep. So, outside of All Might, who didn't have a quirk, he was the oldest one because the rest of them died super young because, One for All or All for One killed them. So, yeah, it's always good when they don't mess up continuity, things like that, because they definitely made that a pretty big sticking point in the story for the Danger Sense guy. Like, that was his whole thing, was that's how they found out that One for All, if it's added to another quirk, lowers your lifespan. On top of, its compounding thing. So I think that guy said he made it to like 40 or something like that before it was just too much for him to handle and had to pass it on and then died. So,
yeah.
Either way, pretty much everything you need for this kind of like backstory. All this stuff was filled in. They alluded to certain things like this, like the comics and stuff like that, where they got the inspiration for each one of the quirk names, stuff like that, where he got the Yuichi name, that kind of thing. He went to the extent of explaining how he wiped out the second wielder's entire like bloodline and stuff like that. And
anyone who ever knew him.
Yeah, and anyone who ever knew him. So I'd like to introduce him to Queen of Fables. They would have done really well together as a team. Always wipe out the bloodline. But yeah, so we kind of speculated like, well, is Bakugo related to somehow? I mean, you could still be related to him. You know what I mean? If random, nonsensical genes, stuff like that, recessive genes over, different generations, stuff like that, Bakugo could have still been related somehow to the second wielder. We don't know.
Yeah. But the more likely thing is just, once again, the whole thing of he technically has been in contact with the second wielder through One for All.
Yeah. So it was probably more likely that as a thing, since they wanted to make the that movie canon and stuff like that. But one thing I will say though is really weird when they were showing off like the quirk factors in All for One, that Hawks of all people was the guy. But I guess he's the only guy we know, right?
Yeah, I mean, he has some other quirks that we know of, but Hawks was Mr. Popular, and the one who would probably be the most actively working against him of his more recent quirk acquisitions.
Right. So, as they pointed out there, yeah, he got that final little smug face in there. But as they pointed out, and how that would make sense is, if he's rewinding out of existence, the quirk factors are not just going to go back to the original wielder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, once again, the quirk factors are a physical thing. They can't just go flying back to their wielders.
Yeah.
It's their original, possessors.
The only real option for somebody like Hawks, or anybody who's still alive in this case, with most of these people here probably aren't. Some of them might be, but probably not a lot of them, is they would have to get treatment from Eri, because they've already proven that she can fix stuff like that with her rewind on Togeda. So,
well, the thing with Miria was because it was her own quirk who got rid of it. They haven't actually tried it on like anyone who had their quirk factor stolen by All for One. Like, right. They talked about doing it with Ragdoll, but they haven't actually tried it yet.
Yeah, but one would assume that
she's one of the only other people we know who's had her quirk stolen and is still alive.
Yeah, so we'll just have to see if that is a thing that happens, if she's able to do something about that. But it's probably reasonably feasible because of timey-wimey nonsense. That's the best way you can put it. It's a definite maybe.
Yeah, it's mostly just would be a matter of her control to be able to just rewind specifically the quirk gene back to the point when it still existed.
Yep. So either way, we got Bakugo's big moment, that kind of thing. Fairly split episode for that kind of thing. The super badass final parry with your teeth. I know people are sick of the parry mechanic in games these days, but what if we started parrying with our teeth? How about that? So, you know, he had his moment, and poof, out of existence. Well, what's more to say? There was a lot to animate in this episode. Again, I'm kind of surprised that it was only Bakugo's VA that came out, at least English VA, that came out and said, he's like almost passing out in the booth. What about, All for One's VA? He was freaking yelling pretty good too.
Yeah, he's basically nothing but screaming.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, no, freaking All for One getting denied all the way up to the last minute, even freaking. Despite all of the build up and his planning and everything like that to confront One for All, in the end, he lost to an extra.
Yep. He lost to an extra because he also used that terminology in pretty much everything. So.
Yeah, once again, like Yoichi, a lot of his personality and like upbringing was based off of comic books. He just tried to portray the villain, whereas Yoichi wanted to be the hero.
Yep. So that's another obviously super major villain dealt with here. So the last real super major thing we have is the Shigaraki and Deku fight. Though I will say that guy we talked about last week that's fighting all the other extras, I kind of want to see that fight because that guy looked hilarious and was like an homage to like 18 different things. So I kind of want to see that. Just as a curiosity, because that guy was all over the place. That was interesting. But yeah, I assume the bulk of the next couple episodes is going to be dedicated to Deku and Shigaraki, and then maybe, especially since the next episode is titled what it is, maybe we'll wrap up a little bit more of like the Shigaraki and All for One kind of like backstory as it needs to be, and then move into that fight proper kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then, there's still Gigantomachia, Kurogiri, Mike, and Eraser floating around. So maybe Gigantomachia is actually out. You know what I mean? Maybe he's not coming back, but at the very least, Mike and Eraser and Kurogiri are floating around somewhere because of the conflicting nature of the personalities clashing inside Kurogiri. So they might do a thing.
Yeah, unless I'm misremembering, the last we saw the Doctor as well was he was still just chilling in his cell, freaking.
We saw the young Doctor in this episode too. He was almost like full Robotnik. You guys see that?
Yeah, apparently he's been around for even longer than was originally speculated. Because apparently he was part of like All for One's original batch of followers.
Right, and well, finding that frame would be an endeavor, but it was when he was like sitting in front of the big group of people, and they like panned to the crowd, and there was Garaki in the crowd, is like super young Garaki, probably like in his 20s or 30s, full on Robotnik attire. Yeah, that was interesting, just as an extra little bit of a thing there. But yeah, I mean, I think this did a good job of doing what it needed to. Just it was kind of interesting to see like the what kind of tech they had still access to, like in the early days of like everything going sideways from metas being a thing now and all that kind of stuff. This was obviously slightly before apocalypse times. You know what I mean? Like when the third and fourth had were around doing stuff. So it's definitely kind of interesting to see how they're like bridging that gap between modern and then like post-apocalyptia kind of deal before everything got rebuilt.
Yeah, because this all happened when like when All for One was like in its like 20s or 30s. Like it was still relatively early on in the meta situation.
Yep.
Before shit really hit the fan, mostly because of All for One coming into power.
Yeah. So either way, not really a huge amount more that I can really say about this one. This did everything that it needed to. It filled in some of the rest of the gaps. We saw some stuff that we had already seen, but it was relevant to the situation, that kind of deal. And that was pretty much it. This was gross. I mean, an amalgam of power. It's gonna look gross, right? But I believe it was like when he like full on like went after Bakugo. Yeah, like this right here. I saw the manga panel for this, so I knew like something reminiscent of this was coming, and I can't fathom like how insane it would be, because the manga panel for this was insanely detailed. You know what I mean? So getting this to be like as good as it looked in the manga would have been an endeavor and a half. You know what I mean? So this looking at as good as it does there, for like what Bakugo does here, I mean, I think this is as good as it's gonna get. You know what I mean? Because obviously the author went super ham on that panel. That was an insanely detailed panel for all the just stuff. It looked like a insane tattoo. You know what I mean? The line work on that frame or on that panel was nuts. So I know that was something that people were talking about when this episode came out. It's just like, yeah, I don't think it's gonna get better than that, you guys, because that panel was insane. You know what I mean? So either way, yeah, pretty much everything we needed. Bakugo wins. There you go. And Hawks gets to be smug.
And once again, like, Hawks kind of makes sense, because he, of the most recent people, he's the most likely to potentially rebel. Plus, once again, he's Mr. Popular. His whole thing is getting other people to like him. So,
Yeah.
and managing to rally the other quirk factors, remnants, kind of makes sense. Plus, like he said, All For One is in a highly emotional state, so he can't really control himself very well. And from what we've seen, this is the first time he's ever tried to activate all of his quirks simultaneously.
Right. And while he's rewinding, probably not the best plan, but what else is he gonna do? He screwed around too much.
Yeah.
You guys want to call back the whatever, I forget that character's name, was like Mr. Adler from South Park telling everybody they screw around too much? Well, All For One screwed around too much and found out. And got exploded several thousand times. So either way, yep, great episode for what it needed to be. Looking forward to the rest of the season, but not really a huge amount more we can really speculate on. You know, I kind of want to see that guy we talked about last week, even if it's like for like 2 minutes and they like wrap him up. I don't care. I just kind of want to see it. And then obviously we know what the majority of the rest of the season is going to be, is the Shigaraki and Deku wrap up, and then obviously I assume there's going to be several, bare minimum 2 episodes of like epilogue-y wrap up that the author wanted to like add to the anime to answer questions that people were like having at the end of the manga after all the like supreme outrage that occurred at the end of last year. This is why I don't think Oda is ending One Piece, because he's just like, I need to like perfect this ending, otherwise people are gonna lose their mind.
Yeah, freaking. While there is, you know, precedent to changing stuff and adding things and making it better, like, the epilogue was needed from what I know. Way too much got left unanswered and left in the air. Like, once again, Dobby apparently never got mentioned until, like, the later half of the epilogue. Like, even the initial bits of the epilogue that were being released didn't mention him at all.
Right. So I assume we'll get some a bunch of stuff that are, like I said, I assume it's going to be bare minimum 2 episodes of just epilogue. Just, hey, here's all the stuff that people were asking for. Just, you know, you had to give me a minute.
Yeah, adding to it can definitely help. You just got to be careful not to fall into the freaking Attack on Titan trap of him constantly rewriting the ending and changing it and pushing it further back.
Yeah,
because of outrage.
Yeah, that was that was something, and I definitely think the end of that series suffered for that, because I was just like, I felt like that Clerk skit where it's like, so the 37 endings that followed the actual ending, okay, so and then we get here. And now the freaking time is a flat circle, and that story is looping back in on itself. And now he's probably going to be doing another series that happens after that. It's freaking madness.
Yeah, like, it still hasn't been hard confirmed yet from what I know, but there has been a lot of talks that, yeah, he is starting to work on the next leap.
Insane. But either way, not really much anything else I can really say about this. We've pretty much speculated out all that we really can at this point. So we just kind of gonna see how the Shigaraki and Deku fight turns out. I'm still in the boat of, like, he's gonna have to kill him. You know what I mean? Or he's gonna have to, like, you know, go full Avatar The Last Airbender and suck out his firebending. You know what I mean? Some kind of weird shenanigan. You know what I mean? He'll have to, like,
yeah,
I don't know, give up his quirk or something to destroy Shigaraki's quirk, and then he's just like a normal guy. I don't know. Like some kind of weird plot thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's either he's too far gone and he's gonna have to kill him, or something's gonna happen where, yeah, they're gonna basically have to use All for One and One for All to destroy each other, and they're both gonna end up quirkless.
Yeah. So, Crunchyroll player is saying to get out, so I guess it's time to get out. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond however you're watching, as always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo from our anime night in the dojo. And this was My Hero Academia, the final season, episode 4. So, have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.